Everyone said Australia was too small to scale with Google ads. That's code from agencies that suck at their job. In 9 months, I was able to generate $1.2 million in sales with only 57K in spend. That's a 21 ROAS. The previous agency running this account, one person, a $500 a month VA managing 12 accounts. No wonder why they weren't able to get results successfully. We took over and implemented 7 strategies to this account and was able to scale it to $1.2 million in sales in 9 months. This is going to be a great video. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact step-by-step process I took to scale this brand successfully. So make sure you're ready and focused and take notes. All right, now it's time for us to get into the presentation. But before I do so, let me show you guys the actual Google Ads dashboard, just so you guys know I'm not capping and I really do this, right? So as you can see, 53K spent, $1.2 million in sales, 22.85 ROAS, right? And this is obviously, these numbers are a bit better than the ones on the presentation, because the reason why is because of delayed attribution. This is a common thing in paid ads with ecom, right? And just so you guys know I'm not capping, I really do this. I've been doing this for 6 years. Let me just refresh the screen. As you can see, no cap in what I say and what I do. And as you guys can see, January to September 30th, 2025, right? So here are the numbers. So why small markets print money? A lot of people, and I hear this so many times, people say you can't scale in small countries. It's a small population, CPMs are too high. But you need to actually do a deeper data deep dive, right? Look at Australia's GDP per capita compared to US. It's not a massive difference. Yeah, the competition is way smaller in Australia. Everybody always focuses on America. My first brand that scaled 7 figures in 1 year was in the UK market, selling pet products, right? And I'm going to record a video regarding that in the future. But UK market, not a lot of people think about that. Everyone always focuses on US. You want to just be different. And as I've shown you in the results here, 1.2 million generated, 57K spent, 21 ROAS, right? So step 1, very, very important, is fix your GMC. Because with Google ads, I would say 70 to 80% of revenue comes through Google shopping. And with Google shopping, it's, a lot of it comes down to your GMC, your feed. You need to give Google very, very clear signals, right? And 90% of accounts get this fundamentally wrong. Their titles are trash, their descriptions are trash, their images are trash. They don't have GTINs, they don't have promotions. There's a lot of things missing, right? So in terms of product titles, this is the structure that I like to use. There's a few different structures you can try out. This one works really well for me. You want to have the leading keyword. And obviously you want to do some keyword research, understand, which keywords have demand, but also make sense and are relevant to what your user is searching for, what it's for, the angle. And then if your brand is well known, have it at the end. I never recommend having the brand in the beginning. You want to always start with the leading keyword. That way you're appearing high for top of funnel traffic, right? So here's an example. You can, use this as a basis and then just tailor it towards your brand. So for example, pain relief LLLT cold laser therapy device for pain management. And then you have the second angle, low level laser therapy machine for home use by then your brand name. And obviously this is in the health niche. Just tailor this use this as a basis and tailor it towards your brand. And remember, you're targeting search queries. So it's important for you to really understand what your users are searching for and using using tools like Keywords Everywhere, which is a good software, or just the Keywords Planner in Google Ads. Second thing is description, right? The first 150 characters sell the click. So focus on the outcomes and never the features. So you can see the difference here. Made from high quality plastic compared to fixes your back pain in 14 days or full refund. This is way more appealing, and is a risk reversal as well included, right? 14 days or full refund. And also ensure that it's SEO rich. Right now with AI, plug these in and it'll really spit out great stuff. In terms of images, again, this really comes down to your niche and your product. But I find that lifestyle shots work really well, having real people, real environments. But then again, some niches, just a typical white background with some sort of shadow effect, 1200 by 1200, that works well as well. So I think it's just a matter of split testing, and that way you'll be able to really understand what works well. And honestly, the result in just making these basic optimizations, 30% more clicks and a high rank. And having a high rank, especially for top of funnel traffic, is very, very important. And this is the foundation. The GMC is the foundation, especially for Google shopping ads. So make sure you have this. And then obviously there's other stuff as well. Let's go deeper into the presentation. Here's a campaign structure that actually works and something that I use for pretty much all accounts. Here's the problem, right? And I see this time and time again. I've audited so many accounts this year. Everybody just dumps all their money into one PMAX campaign and just trusts Google's algorithm with no clear signals or no clear intent, right? Google's algorithm is only going to be as good as the data you give it, and the data you give it with GMC as well, right? So this is why we always start with this. The solution here is just having a clear segmented account structure between brand, non-brand, top of funnel, bottom of funnel, middle funnel traffic, right? So here's one example of a campaign structure that I like to use. You always want to have your branded campaign. You want to have your non-branded shopping. Now, again, I don't want to go too deep into this because it really comes down to what stage you're at. If you're in the testing phase, if you're in the scaling phase, if you want to really tap into super top of funnel traffic. But typically, non-branded shopping can be in a standard shopping campaign, just a basic one with a separate one for bottom of funnel shopping and then one for middle funnel and top of funnel. Or you can have it in PMAX and then this exclude brand. Like I said, it just depends on how much data your account has and how many products you want to push. Non-branded search, very, very important. Not many people like to use this. They just want to focus on shopping and PMAX because it's just easier to set up and easier to manage. But non-branded search is really good. The way I do it is I like to segment it by product theme or category. And then, I like to start with a manual CPC approach and then with time, change it to maximize conversion value with a target ROAS set. And then PMAX, right? PMAX really should come, A, if your account has a lot of data, and B, if you have the budget and you're ready to scale. But then even when you do, set up a PMAX campaign, there's a lot of settings and things you want to do correctly. Typically with PMAX, I like to focus on feed only. What that means is just PMAX campaigns purely for shopping. And then for search, I like to keep it in a standard search approach. I find this structure to work best for me. And then there's dynamic search ads. Not many people talk about this. This is really, really good to really capture more. It's really good for keyword crawling, right? Because there's only so much research you can do. But what this does is Google scans your landing page, scans your product and offer. It automatically targets keywords in which it thinks will be relevant to your brand. Now, obviously, a lot of the time, it won't be completely accurate, but there's so many cases where there's a lot of low competition, lower hanging fruit keywords that you can add in. And typically what I like to do here is when I find keywords that are performing well that I probably never thought of or I didn't really know of, I will add it to the non-branded search campaign and scale it, right? And you can see how each campaign kind of feeds into each other and it's all an ecosystem because even the top of funnel traffic might not convert, at the first impression, but it will bleed into the brand campaign, right? You're getting that low-hanging fruit here. So that's really how you need to approach this. And this is how you need to approach e-com in general. Going deeper into it, negative keywords, very, very, very important, right? This is the profit protector. A lot of accounts that I see, they never do this because it can be a bit tedious. It can be very time-consuming. But look, with ChatGPT, Claude, there's no excuse, right? So typically what I like to do, download the PDF file or CSV file every week or on a bi-weekly basis. This depends on how much spend and how many clicks you're getting per day. Review the list. What I do is I'll feed it into ChatGPT and ask it hey, exclude or give me a list of all the keywords that are not relevant to the product I'm selling or to our brand. And then I would add it as a negative, right? And then you just rinse and repeat this process. Super easy process with the help of AI, even easier, right? Very, very important because this really teaches the Google algorithm how to target your user and it gives it clearer signals. And you're just blocking out junk keywords that are just going to result in clicks and you're just paying for clicks that are not going to convert anyways, right? And that's the power of Google Ads is you're actually paying per click, not per impression. So you're actually able to focus and target your budget on certain keywords that will work well. Because of this process, we were able to save 12K in spend per month and 144K in wasted spend, right? And this is per year. And again, what's great about this is this redirects into the winning campaign. And because sometimes you'll be running campaigns and you're like, it's only spending a bit, it doesn't really matter for me to do this, but trust me, it compounds, right? This is a long-term business. It does compound, especially when you scale. And you want to teach the algorithm correctly from the beginning. If you're teaching the algorithm to just optimize and keep targeting low intent people, it's going to keep doing that because you haven't excluded it. So in Google's eyes, it feels like it's doing a successful job because you're increasing budgets there, you're increasing bids, all of that sort of thing. So it's very important to understand how the algorithm works. Here's another cool strategy that not many people talk about. I call it geographic arbitrage. So for example, in the context of this brand, we were selling to the Australian market. Everyone always thinks about Sydney and Melbourne, right? It's just the obvious ones. People are just too lazy to do deeper research, right? But here's one thing that was interesting. When we looked at Sydney conversion rates compared to Perth and Adelaide, you can see 2.1 for Sydney, 3.8 for Perth, 4.2 for Adelaide, right? I hope I'm saying that correctly. But as you can see, This was the best performer and had the least competition. Now, obviously, the actual population will be different. This is going to be a smaller population, but it doesn't really matter because there's way less competition here. So you're able to scale it up. What's cool is actually in the campaign level, you're able to increase bids per certain state or city, right? So definitely want to do this. You want to start filtering out and segmenting, the campaign by different cities, for example, in this case, and you're able to actually, either exclude, scale up, scale down different cities with the CPCs, or you can just set up a new campaign. If you want to like scale into a certain territory, just launch a new campaign and only target that specific city or area, right? And this is a rinse and repeat. Any country you're selling to, always make sure you're filtering by the city. For America, you can filter by states as well, or cities. Here's another cool strategy that we implemented that actually worked really well. So you really want that. Here's another really cool strategy that worked really well. I call it margin-based bidding, and it includes using the supplemental feed and GMC. And it's actually, I think it's important for everyone that runs Google Ads to actually understand Google Merchant Center and to view it as a skill. So step one, identify the problem. You can't treat all products equally. They all have different margins, right? So what you're able to do is add margins or margin percentage to every SKU in your feed, right? So typically I'll do this through a custom label, or you can just use a supplemental feed with a Google Sheet. That's how I like to do it. And then what you can do is actually build campaigns that are separate based on the margin level. So remember how before I said you want to segmentation is very important. This is one very powerful way to segment your campaigns. And this works really well, especially if you have a lot of products, right? And what's good about this is you're able to actually bid, relative to the margins. So for example, high margin products, able to aggressively bid, right? You're able to scale this aggressively. For low margin products, you're able to actually bring down the bids because you need a higher ROAS, right? So you're protecting profitability. And then here for high margin products, you're scaling top of funnel, you're capturing market share, right? So you really need to understand it, because if you have everything in one, it's going to be a lack of control. And result, so here's a quick case study regarding this, regarding the brand, is we were able to add 200K per month of revenue. Same ad spend, just better profit margins because of the segmentation. And again, most agencies don't even know supplemental fees exist. That's the irony of it. And this is the power of actually segmenting your campaign. Here were a few other things we've done. And it's very important to do research when you're selling into a market that's new to you, right? So for example, one thing is local payment and trust signals. We found that in Australia, a lot of people like to use Afterpay and ZipPay. So this instantly created a 30% conversion rate lift, right? Just by adding this. GST inclusive, so little things like this. Again, if you're not very well seasoned, if you don't know anyone that lives in these countries that you want to sell into, just use AI. Just use AI. Just ask it to really do a deep dive into consumer behavior in certain countries, and from there, I'll give you a to-do list on these things. Right? I'm not going to go into every one, but you can see little things like pricing psychology, testing $39.99 versus $40. Right, you can see $40 converted better. So it's just a bunch of different things that you want to add in, and it will just really, really compound, really work good for your account. And it's little things like this, just that extra effort, that's what's going to take you to the next level and actually give you crazy results, right? And we put a lot of work in, right? We put a lot of work into this account, and that's why 57K in spend generated 1.2 million. Crazy results. And again, I want to tell you, this is not the norm, by the way. This is not the norm. This is just a very, very good example of a very good brand, amazing branding, a very good product that not many people sell, and they really nailed the product in terms of quality. The people love it. When you add that in with someone like myself who really understands Google and knows how to run it successfully, you're just bound to be successful, right? And make a lot of money. And the previous agency results, as you can see, just complaining, Australia's too small, CPMs are too high, I can't scale this. The reason why is because the person that's running it, they don't know shit. That's just the truth, right? A lot of these agencies are just hiring VAs that are running like 10, 15 accounts and just following SOPs. That's just the reality, right? You now have the complete playbook. This is the exact step-by-step blueprint I took to scale this brand successfully in the Australian market. Moving forward, you have two choices. You can implement this yourself, make a ton of mistakes, be confused, have a ton of headaches, or you can save yourself effort, time, and money in the long run by booking a call with me and using the first link in the description. This call will provide you a lot of clarity, and I'll go over a game plan for your specific niche, for your specific brand. And of course, these are only principles and strategies. It's gonna be different for every brand based on the AOV, the market, the country, right? There's so many different variables that come into play. That's why I always have a free audit using the link in the description below. So what this means is I'll go in, order your Google Ads setup, order your e-com setup, and just give you a game plan on, what I think you should do to take it to the next level. And I'll be honest, I'm not for everyone, okay? I don't bullshit. I'm very transparent, very honest. If I feel like I can't scale your brand, I'm just going to tell you up front, I don't want to waste your time. Because a lot of people, they just have the wrong mindset, or they have just a shit offer, to be honest with you. So if you're at least doing 10K a month and you have a strong mindset going into this, I'm very confident I'll be able to scale you up, because I've done this many, many times for myself, for many other people's brands. So make sure you book a call using the first link in the description, and let's just get to it. Time is going by very fast. We're already in Q4. Black Friday is a few weeks away. So make sure you book a call today.